From the Director of Finance, we now shift gears to talk with our current power plant superintendent. Donnie Tun had made a name for himself on the football pitch as one of the Tun brothers on the Juventus Football Club of Orange Walk. But what many people may not have known is that he was on his way to becoming an engineer. 15 years later, after being recruited for his prowess as a football star and his potential as an engineer, Donnie heads BELCOGEN and has been a key player from its inception. Donnie talks about being the self-appointed captain of the BELCOGEN team.
I became a member of the team when I was recruited in 2008. That's when I started. We were on the first year of construction of the new project, which was BELCOGEN. That is the power plant. So I was part of the team that, completed the construction of the project, and then we went ahead and commissioned the project, and we came in operations in December of 2009.
Now, I want to go back just a little because Mr. Nolly, in his interview, spoke about the fact that he was recruited for the football team. You were also a great footballer. Were you recruited because of your football skill or because of your engineering skills?
Well, I would assume that in this particular case, it could be both. I think that I had the opportunity to when the project was coming on stream. So I think it was a valuable opportunity for me to be able to become part of something new. I think a great challenge. So I think it was both at the end of the day. When I came in at a different capacity. Coming from my science background, I graduated from University of Spalding University with physics, math, and chemistry. When I came in, I was hired at that point. We were developing the laboratory and the science aspect of the quality control of the power plant. So I was hired as a laboratory supervisor at that point. And since that point, I have served in different capacities, including operations supervisor. Then I went ahead to become the operations superintendent. And then I took over the power plant superintendent. So it was a gradual amalgamation of different responsibilities until I became the power plant superintendent, which is the position that I have at this point. In the first role that I played, what happened is that we were moving from a low pressure boilers to I would say, medium pressure boilers, in a higher range of the medium pressure boilers. So, we knew that it was very important for us to be able to control the chemistry aspect of the plant. It was something new. It was something that we have not experienced before. So in my role, I had to establish quality controls, especially when it comes to the quality of condensate and quality of steam that we actually use at a power plant, so that we can actually ensure the proper operation of the equipment. So, in that role, it was something that I had to learn very quickly, because we had about a year into the construction phase at that point. So we had a year more, and then operation would actually begin. So I had to establish different procedures and quality controls to ensure that whenever we start operations, we get the best possible quality of condensate, steam, and other chemical controls that we required in operating a medium pressure boiler. When we started operating, we basically became a operations supervisor, and in that particular role, what I did is, in charge of the operation personnel to establish different standard operating procedures to ensure that the operation of all the equipment are done in a safe manner, and also in an efficient manner. Right? So that was as an operations supervisor. Then, as the company evolved, I became the power plant superintendent. So in this particular role, I took the responsibilities of assisting with the operation aspect of the plant and the maintenance aspect of the plant. So basically, it was more a complete um, a role in which I was responsible to assisting with both operations and maintenance aspect of the power plant. When we moved from the boilers that we used to operate before to the ones that we operate at this point, we knew that there was going to be challenges, and we tried to prepare for those challenges. Nevertheless, as you rightly mentioned, there were challenges that we had to face. One of those challenges was to ensure that the quality, as I mentioned, of water used on those boilers as of the optimal conditions. We did not have experience on that. And what we had is that we definitely needed to tighten up the qualities, and there were different procedures and controls that we put in place in order for us to reach there. Furthermore, the pressures that we work in the plant is much higher than what we used to before. At this point, we are operating on steam on the boilers and the inlet of the turbine, for example, at 925 psi, which it is quite high. So that in itself represents a challenge. So the whole pressures and temperatures that I work with at the power plant was completely new for us, and I think that in order for us to be able to ensure that the equipment is operating to optimal conditions, we had to learn how these equipments actually operate and how we keep it in optimal operation. I think that was one of the biggest challenges that we actually had. I think the project team, how we refer to it as when we started the construction of the power plant, had that in mind. And what they did is that they recruited some of us a bit earlier, so that we can get ahead of the game. When we came in, we started developing and developing training manuals for the personnel that was coming in. So when we went to a recruitment drive and we hired most of the operating personnel and the maintenance personnel, we basically had, I would say, a foundation of what we would be able to transfer in terms of knowledge to the new personnel. And it also required a lot of training. We had, it's not so easy in some cases, but we had on-the-ground training. We had manuals, we educated ourselves, we brought people to actually assist us with the training. But at the end of the day, it ended up being on-the-ground training when our guys and ourselves learned as we went along and tried to modify our procedures and modify the way that we operate the equipment in order to ensure that we improve on the operation. We had instances in which we had one equipment down, for instance, so we had to do with what we actually have. Sometimes we had to shut down some repair in a particular equipment and start up back again. But as we went along, those issues were ironed out, and we managed to stay in normal operation for longer periods. No, I think at the beginning, and based on the experience that we've had, it was very challenging. But as we went along, those challenges made us learn. And the kudos to the team, as you rightly mentioned. It's a complete team that we had at that particular point, and the guys that we had took up the challenge, because not anyone would take up the challenge to try to operate something that you do not have direct experience with. So kudos to the guys, and I think that as a team, we moved in the right direction. We took up the challenges and we worked together to try to sort it out, and we managed to get it done. At this point, we can now sit down and look back and say, hey, I remember when we had this challenge and we have sorted it out. But at that point, it was not as simple as that. There were some cases in which we have sleepless nights, sleepless days, as a matter of fact, in which we had to be working at the plant continuously in order to sort out a particular issue. But with those experiences, I think we kind of accelerated to where we are at this point, in which we can go back and learn and actually learn from it, and then now do not make the same errors that we have done before, and learn from that and ensure that we improve on everything.
Now, the investments that came with ASR, how critical were those to actually improving the operations at the power plant itself?
ASR was a crucial aspect of I think the development of the power plant. When they actually came into the picture, they brought a pool of knowledge, technical knowledge, where we can actually go and get assistance in how to actually run a power plant of this type of nature. The investment were, I think, very, very important. As a matter of fact, I think some of these investments basically changed the course of the direction where the plant was going. One of those, for example, was the replacement of the electrostatic precipitators. After so many years of us trying to carry out maintenance and try to get it back to where the ESP, the electrostatic precipitator, should be at, the decision was made that it would be replaced. And since we did that replacement, we have seen a great improvement on the operability, the efficiency, the reliability of the power plant. So I think that was very, very crucial. And not just simply the investor in terms of these projects, but as I mentioned, is the knowledge that an international company like ASR brings to us. I think we have a huge pool of engineers, of knowledgeable people, of consultants that we actually come into the plant, look at the plant, gives us advice on how to actually improve on every aspect of it. So what basically the power plant does is it generates all the power necessary and the steam required for the sugar process. So that allows us to be able to mill all the cane, extract the sugar from that particular cane. Now, not only that, is that apart from being the sole provider of the power and steam for the mill purposes, any excess power generation, we actually provide it to the grid of the national grid. So we provide so much energy to the national grid as well. So our people are indirectly benefited in that particular aspect because we can actually do that. And it helps the country in general in terms of energy stability. Not only that, is that the key aspect is all the energy, in this case, the electrical energy that we provide to the grid and we provide to the mill is renewable energy. All of this comes from the combustion of bagasse in this particular case. The power plant consumes all the bagasse basically that is generated during the milling process. Before this particular project came on stream, if people might remember, there was the milling and there was excess bagasse that remained. And that bagasse, we had to get rid of it some way or the other. Now, it's a different manner of operating. What we do is that all the bagasse that is produced at the mill, it's actually consumed by the power plant. And the only thing that we do is that we save an amount to start the following crop season. Now, in terms of the emissions, when you burn bagasse, you produce different particulates. So, we have a social responsibility, environmental responsibility that we contain that particular emission. And this is where as I mentioned just previously, the project of replacing the electrostatic precipitors came in. When that project was implemented, we can see a huge difference in terms of this particular emission. Most, if not all, close to all of the emission or the particulate that is actually produced by the combustion of the bagasse, that is basically collected, and we dispose of it in a safe and environmentally conscious manner. If you look at the stock at this point and compared to before, it's a huge difference. And right at this point, what you would see is a white plume that is coming out from the stock. That basically is condensate. The system that you have in place is a wet system. So basically, it's using water to clean the flue gas and observe the actual particulate and remove it from the flue. No, but you see a white smoke basically, which is just simply water that is evaporating, and due to the temperatures of the ambient, it basically condenses. So you will see that white plume, and when you see that white plume, then it simply means that you don't have any particulate in it. It's just simply clean condensate that you actually have. What I have learned the most is that there's always room for improvement. It doesn't matter how we work on something. The better we get, there's still room for improvement. And at the end of the day, we have to strive for perfection. We might not be able to reach there, but the closer you get to it, the better for everyone. So I think that is one of the greatest experience that they've had and what I've learned, we have moved, or we have went a huge, I say, improvement, but we still can improve more. And I think that that is a mentality that we need to have in order to also ensure to try to improve on a daily basis, on a crop basis, so we can maintain the conditions that we have at this point and even getting better. As I mentioned before, we're working on the improvement in order to ensure that the reliability of the power plant is there, so we can ensure that come in, crop out, we can count on the power plant to provide all the necessary electrical energy and steam to the mill process, and to keep it that way, for years to come. And in the medium term, I would say it depends again on what direction, amount of cane and so forth, but hopefully we can increase our generation output. And the reason why is that if we can provide more electrical energy to the grid, as a country, we are in a better position.
You were a footballer, right? For years.
Yes.
What would you say is, how did that sports as a form of development and discipline and everything else actually prepare you to run a power plant?
Teamwork. I think that is key. You need to understand what your roles are, what your responsibilities are, and ensuring that you carry out those responsibilities.
So you're just the captain of the BELCOGEN team?
I'm a self-appointed captain. Yep. The greatest joy is seeing the development of my team. I think that I've seen a lot of the guys grow as professionals, and I think that some of them, you can see that they are quite confident in what they do, as compared to how we were when we actually started. And I think that we have a huge team, that you can see that the guys are very passionate about what they do, and I think that is what gives me a lot of pleasure.
And to the farmers and to the wider community, what would you say?
We are working as best as possible, with everything we have, to ensure that we have a reliable plant, so that the whole industry benefits. It's not about a benefit of just the company, but it's the benefit of the industry as a whole and the wider community as a whole. Because at the end of the day, we all know that the sugar industry is one of the biggest industries in the country, and we all rely on that.
Did you know that Donnie Tun was inducted into the Belize Football Hall of Fame?